Attention everybody, the views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliates, subordinate ministries, and nonprofits. So now here he is, as always, the man with a plan to put gold in your hand, Tony Hammock.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the intro. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everybody's bundled up. It looks nice and sunny, but boy, I tell you what, it's pretty chilly out there. Let me see here. I'm just trying to get something done on my phone before I got too far into this, but it's Inauguration Day, 2021. And I guess we've all been waiting for this day to see what happens and go to a new administration and all that kind of good stuff. But the only prayer I really have is that everything is peaceful. I just, it really kind of upsets me when some of these things turn violent like a couple weeks ago. And so hopefully they can make a smooth transition with no escalation and stuff. Anyway, hey, thanks for tuning in. We got a big show for you. I'm all by myself today, but that's okay because I think I've got some interesting things for us to talk about. And the first one is, I always like to kind of jump into the stewardship class because, let's face it, when we started this show a couple years ago, it was all about alternative assets, stewardship, and, ways to treat money right and tithe and all those kinds of good things and stuff. And hopefully some of you out there are benefiting from some of the things we've talked about in the past. We spent a lot of time talking about gold and silver, Bitcoin, alternative assets of all kinds, oil, platinum, palladium, copper, you name it. So, without any further ado, let me get into the stewardship course, and then I'll kind of go into some other things that I think are going to be kind of fun. Today's course is How Much Debt is Too Much? I don't believe owing a bill for a few days or weeks is tantamount to debt. I'm speaking here about the sort of debt that leads to financial bondage. You're in debt when you can't pay your bills as they come due, start putting off the payment of one bill in order to pay another, feel pressure regarding your bills, become worried about how you'll pay your bills, start looking for quick fixes or quick ways out of your debt. The truth is, debt can lead to a host of attitudes that affect your spiritual life negatively. First, debt creates stress, anxiety, and deep frustration. Debt becomes an overwhelming mental preoccupation for many. Your first and last thoughts each day are about whom you owe and how much you owe and what you can do about what you owe. In this mindset, you're not in a position to hear from God about His priorities for the use of your time and resources. Ultimately, unpaid debt can lead to fear, a deep anxiety that you'll never be out of debt. And fear is the opposite of faith. Ooh, that's a good one, isn't it? Fear is the opposite of faith. Second, debt places a strain on family relationships. Money concerns are among the primary causes of family arguments. Mismanagement of money can smother love. Don't allow that to happen in your home. When disagreements interrupt the free flow of loving communication in your home, you're facing a problem that has spiritual dimensions to it. Third, debt causes you to become resentful of others. Rather than reach out to others, you begin to avoid those you owe, and at times, those who know about your indebtedness. Debt can cause you to distrust those who seem to have no money problems. It can cause you to become envious. These are not godly attitudes. Fourth, debt hurts the testimony of a Christian. It's difficult to declare to the world that you're trusting God to meet all your needs when you're deeply in debt. Your credibility is destroyed. Debt affects your spiritual life in negative ways because it keeps you from listening totally to God's directives for your daily life. It keeps you from being used by God to help others, and it causes you to forfeit your peace and flexibility when your life is burdened by debt. So, kind of short and sweet, but very to the point. And I kind of like that one because, you don't want to have that noise, that interference as far as your communication with God and your higher power. So anyway, that was, I think, lesson 6 in this course, and it's got 10 altogether. So we've got 4 more weeks of that one, and hopefully you're enjoying those, and then we'll go on to another one and stuff. Anyway, with that said, I worked up today's inauguration day, so I was thinking of what could I do that would be, appropriate. I mean, yeah, I could come in here and do the same old, and all this kind of stuff. But I got to thinking about it, and what I came up with is, why don't we take a look at all of the president's inauguration days, all the way back to Richard Nixon, and let's take a look at what was the price of gold on those inauguration days. And then, to take it a step further, let's take a look at how much debt each administration added to our total overall debt as a nation. And to make that even more fun, let me find here's my little U.S. debt clock. As we speak this morning at 9:07, the U.S. national debt is $27,813,570,300,400,500. I mean, that's how fast it's going. I mean, let's just say 570 million plus, because literally this thing is just going crazy on my phone here. But 27.8 trillion is what our national debt is, and so we'll get into how much each administration added to that total. I want to wet my whistle there before we get into this. Okay, so President-elect Biden will soon be president in 1 hour and 52 minutes. I think he is sworn in at noon Eastern today, so he can switch it from President-elect to President Joe Biden. And today, let me just see if anything's changed since I put this together this morning. Gold. Now these are all going to be the ask prices, okay? Gold ask as we speak is $1,858.20. The silver ask, by the way, is $25.61. But if you look back to this day, 2017, when Donald Trump was sworn in, gold was at $1,200.55. So we've seen a $643 increase in gold in 4 years. And gosh, if I do the math in my head, that looks like a, what is that, a 50% increase? So now, the other interesting thing about this is Donald Trump, while he was in office, has increased our debt by $6.8 trillion. Okay? And probably a lot of that has been just in the last year with some of the stimulus packages that have been created because of the COVID-19 pandemic and so forth. But the one before that was President Obama. He came into office on this day, 2009. And gold on that day was $853.25. So much different. Basically about $990 less than it is today. And President Obama's administration, and remember, he had 8 years. Okay, I'm just doing from the first inauguration. You know, if they were reelected, I'm skipping that just for simplicity's sake, and I didn't want this to take the whole show and stuff. But in President Obama's 2 terms, his administration increased the debt by $8.3 trillion. And remember, I mean, he kind of took over there right after George W. Bush, and we were kind of in a bad way there right after that 2008 real estate bubble. So, you know, there's some people out there that would say that some of that debt should be attributed to George W. But anyway, it happened during Obama's chronological time, I guess you'd call it, and stuff. Anyway, next would be George W. Bush. He came into office back in 2001, and gold on that day was $264.90. Now think about that. $264.90 an ounce. And today it's $1,843.10. Now, George W., he increased the debt by 6.1, or I should say his administration increased the debt by 6.1 trillion. And then before that was back in 1993, we got William Clinton. And gold on his inauguration day was $329 an ounce. And he increased the debt, or his administration did, by 1.3 trillion. That's not bad. I mean, when you think about it, 1.3 trillion over 8 years. Before that was George Bush Sr., and he came into office back in '89. Gold on his inauguration day was $405.50, and his administration over those 4 years increased the debt by 1.5 trillion. And before that, we had President Reagan from 1981 was his inauguration day, and on the day President Reagan was sworn in, gold was $562 an ounce, and his administration over those 8 years increased the debt load by 1.8 trillion. And then before that, we had Jimmy Carter, and he came into office back in 1977. Gold on that day was $133.10. Can you imagine being able to go buy an ounce of gold for $133.10? And he only increased the debt by, looks like, 299 billion, not even a trillion. So, kind of an interesting time back then. Remember how high inflation was when Jimmy Carter was in office? And prior to that was Gerald Ford. And he kind of took over once Nixon resigned, so I don't have an inauguration day there. But in 1974, when he did take over, gold was at $130 an ounce. And in the time he was in office with his administration, they only increased the debt by 223 billion, only by 223 billion. And then I thought I'd go all the way back to Richard Milhous Nixon, because if you remember, President Nixon was the one that took us off the gold standard back on August 15th, 1971. But he actually came into office as the president in 1969. And on January 20th, 1969, now wait for it, gold was $42.20 an ounce. Can you imagine if you had the, vision, I guess you'd call it, of back in 1969 being able to buy, let's say, 100 ounces of gold, and, what would that have been, about $4,200? And today you had 100 ounces that were worth $1,843.10 a piece. That would not be a bad increase in your wealth at all over those years. What is that? That's 31 and 21. That's 52 years. So I just thought that was interesting. Not only the price of gold on each of the inaugurations going back to Richard Nixon, President Nixon in 1969, and then just for grins, looking at how each administration, how much debt was increased in their time in office and stuff. So I don't know if you're like me, if that is one of those things that's of interest or not, but I for some reason I thought, let's celebrate the 2021 inauguration day with looking at where gold is. And let's put it this way. If gold went up that much in, what would we say, 52 years, what if you could buy a couple ounces of gold today, and over the next 52 years it goes up that much again, or even more? It may not be such a bad strategy. I mean, we've talked about gold quite a bit over the last couple years, and it's only about a 5,000 year history as far as gold and silver being used for sound money. And there's just a lot of things going on right now as far as the economy and the dollar and the debt and worldwide, political things going on. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on. And it might make sense to think about adding some gold and silver to your portfolio. If you've been doing gold and silver, keep the path, or keep the course, stay on course there, and so forth. But if you don't, In my office, we call it wealth insurance. And the reason being is that we can show you statistically over the last, 52 years, like what if at any point you'd had 10 or 20% in gold and silver to go along with, 80 or 90% in the S&P 500, what would it have done for you? And the only one I've got from memory is I can tell you back in 2008. In 2008, if you were 100% in stocks, more than likely you were down 38.5%. Now, can you imagine? You roll into '08, you got a $100,000 portfolio, and by the end of the year, you've got 62,000 or less. You're not a happy camper. But if you had, I think it was 10% in gold, gold that year was up 5.4%. And just, taking 10 out of the one that's going down 38 and putting it over here in one that ends up being up 5%, I think your $100,000 portfolio would have come in at like 980,000, give or take, just a few dollars difference there and stuff. So, you would have almost broke even, which, you never, that's not what we're looking for, is to break even. But I have to tell you, breaking even sounds pretty good in years where everybody else is down 38 to 40%. So, and we can go on and on. I run all kinds of back tests and illustrations and stuff. So if you ever want to see that, for your own account, give me a shout, 417-755-0700. I've got a couple different software programs we can plug in numbers, and we can go back as far as you want with whatever ratio you want. Let's say you want to do a 70-30 split, 70% stocks, 30% gold. Let's say your portfolio is, international and mid cap and small cap and large cap. The program's pretty powerful as far as its ability to capture exactly, what you have, and, it'll go over, how what your return has been, and then we can run one with, let's say, taking 5, 10, 15, 20% and putting it in gold. So just FYI, it might be a fun thing to do on a wet, miserable winter afternoon sometime. The next couple days here in Southwest Missouri are going to be pretty nice. So don't do it these next couple days. Get out and have some fun and stuff. Our 13-year-old has discovered wiffle ball. And so every chance we get out and play some wiffle ball. His older brother just went back to school here last week, so we got out yesterday afternoon and played 3 innings. He and I, and he was pretty happy last night at dinner because he stomped on the old man here, and so we got to change it. He beat me in darts on Sunday, and he beat me in wiffle ball yesterday. So look out, world. Anyway. Let's get into some pricing. We've been talking just gold really pretty much for the morning, but there are some other things going on out there. Let me get to my little program here. The first thing is, it's kind of interesting, and we've talked about this before, how somebody can come out and just make a comment, and some of these things change so drastically. Like yesterday, Janet Yellen, who is not going to be the chairman of the Fed this time. She's going to be in charge of the Treasury, but she, made a presentation, and she was talking about, maybe cryptos are not the best place to be, and she brought up her reasons for that and everything. And so when you look at like Bitcoin today, right now Bitcoin's off 5.7%, but it's still at $34,908, and Ethereum, the second largest by market cap crypto, is down 5.76%. Isn't that ironic? They're both down 5.7 something, and Ethereum is at $1,314 a coin. So the market as a whole is down 5.54%. If we look at the others, where'd it go? There we are. Let's look at these first few are going to be precious metals, and the prices I'm going to give you are by the ounce. And as of 9:20 this morning, a minute ago, gold's having a good day. It's up $27.80 an ounce. It's now at $1,868.50 an ounce for the spot price. Silver's up 53 cents. It's at 25.81. Platinum is up 23. It's at $1,111 an ounce. Palladium's up $23. It's at $2,413 an ounce. And rhodium is down $300, but it's at $21,200 an ounce. Can you imagine an ounce of rhodium? You know, it's probably about as big as well, let me see. It's probably about as big as your little finger. I mean, you know, I don't know if that's a real good, accurate comparison or not, but I mean, an ounce is not much, you know, when it comes right down to it and stuff. And an ounce of rhodium is right now, if you wanted to buy one, the ask is $21,200. If you went to sell one, the bid is $19,200. And there's always a difference between the ask and the bid and so forth. Now, in the base metals, these prices are by the pound. And copper is up another penny and a half. It's at $3.64 a pound. Nickel is $8.19. Aluminum is 89 cents. Zinc is $1.22. Lead is 91 cents a pound. And uranium is off 25 cents. It's at $29.80 a pound. And if you were looking at crude oil, a barrel of crude right now would cost you $53.46, which is just flat out amazing. I mean, for those of you that tune in week in, week out, or every couple times a month or something like that, I mean, it wasn't too long ago. I mean, middle of last year, where they had that crazy market activity in the oil markets. And remember, there was a show where I was in here and we looked, and crude was actually less than it was under zero. It was, it wasn't even $1. It was below zero as far as the price for a barrel of crude oil. There were some interesting things going on in the oil markets that couple of week time frame there and stuff. But now it's, up 53.46, and I think if you remember, anytime we've had some of these big swings, I'm always talking about buying low and selling high. And it seems simplistic, but sometimes the simplistic rules are the ones that work. Not all the time, but most of the time. The Dow Jones Industrial Average as of 9/23 is up 162 points. It's at 31,093. And the NASDAQ's up 198. It's at 13,395. You got the S&P 500 up 36 points. It's at 3,835. So, everybody's kind of up right now. I think, there's just a lot of excitement and euphoria and everything going on with this transfer to a new administration. And so we'll see, what that means to the markets over the next couple of weeks. I think from what I'm reading that after Janet's conversation yesterday, or presentation, I should say, and a couple other things that have happened here just in the last couple of days, that most of the folks are looking at a large amount of stimulus being interjected into the market, and because of the new administration, and so they're taking that as positive, and that's why you're seeing a lot of these things to continue to go up. And in some cases, maybe when they shouldn't be. There's a lot of folks out there that think that we have a bubble, and that a lot of these things could correct. Bitcoin could correct, stocks could correct. There's even out there saying that gold could, correct a little bit and stuff. There's also people on the other side of the fence that are thinking gold's going to be, 2,500 in a snap of your fingers type of thing and stuff. So we'll see. The point I'm trying to make there is, and I've been doing this since 1980, I will tell you, nobody knows. There's people out there that can make a good case with statistics and charts and graphs and stuff that they think they know. And sometimes they're, more often than not, close. But what it comes down to is nobody really knows. And so, you try to make as educated as a decision as you can and stuff. And that's why I always fall back on dollar cost averaging, systematic approach. Since you can't control the markets, let's control what you can. And that is how much money you're putting into something. Let's say you're, really interested in silver. And you just make it a plan that in 2021 you're going to put $100 a month into silver. Well, as long as you do it systematically, with discipline, and all that kind of stuff, no matter what silver's price does, you should be happy. In my view, I mean, past performance is not indicative of future performance, but, if silver goes way up, you're going to be happy because you got some dollars in it. If silver goes down, the next deposit, you're going to be happy because you're buying more ounces of silver. I mean, let's face it, if silver's about $25 and change right now, spot, I mean, $100 is going to buy you just shy of 4 ounces, And so if you're adding 4 ounces of silver every month, at the end of the year, you're going to have, what, that 4 times 12, 48 ounces of silver? That's a nice start. So anyway, dollar cost averaging, systematic approach, things of that nature, I think, are what make some investors more successful as compared to the speculators that they get a stock tip from someone on Facebook or one of their friends at the water cooler or the chat room or whatever, and they don't do any due diligence. They don't vet that opportunity the way they should, and then they put in money that they can't afford to lose, and guess what? It doesn't go the way they planned, and then they're obviously upset, and they don't have the money anymore. So I think if you are cautious and do your research, and hopefully some of the things we cover from week to week will give you tools on what to look for and where to go to get more info and things like that. Hopefully it'll help you to make some better decisions as far as that goes and stuff. Speaking of better decisions, I got to tell you, and I can't remember, last week was such a blur because we had Asa back. Asa is my son that goes to the University of Tulsa, and he helped quite a bit over the summer months last year, and he gained quite a following because the minute he had gone back to school, I had people calling, "Where's Asa? Is Asa okay? Is Asa going to come back?" So anyway, we had Asa back last week, and a lot of the things I had kind of planned on doing, I either didn't do it all or just touched on them briefly and stuff. But I got back on the 8th, I got my coin of the month. And, we talk about a lot of different companies and a lot of different vehicles here, investment vehicles and stuff. And one that I started doing back in September of 19, I believe it was, is there's a company I like called 7K Metals, and they have a coin a month club. There's 3 versions of it. I just go for the basic one, which is every month I get a Silver Eagle sent to me. And the Silver Eagle, right now they've got a 50-state series going on. I'm going to try and collect all 50. And, this is just a small portion of what I do. I kind of like it because, I get it every month, and I got some, stored away, and they're nice and shiny. In fact, this is the first one where they've actually sent it, and it's like hermetically sealed. It's got its little card in there, in the same package with the coin and stuff. But this one is Utah, and Utah is state 12 of 50, and this is a 2020 Eagle silver dollar, MS70, and that's the key. MS70. MS stands for mint state. 70 is the highest grade there is. So this coin by the outfits like NGC that rate these coins, this is perfect. This is perfection right here, MS70. Now, what I like to bring this up when I get my new coin is, one, so you guys can see, if you want, there's a way to get actual physical silver in your hands, monthly, or if you want, we can do it weekly. But anyway, and it's kind of neat. And this particular one, as I said, was Utah. It says, Utah, where you can go from world-class skiing to world-famous national parks in just a few hours. Utah is known as the Beehive State due to its industrious pioneer settlers who forged a thriving community between formidable mountains and the banks of a giant saltwater lake using only pickaxes and sheer will. This coin belongs to those who have the fortitude to relentlessly pursue their dreams, like you. Ha. So anyway, it's just a nice coin. But the reason I bring this up is it jogs my memory to bring up, you don't want to make the $1.2 million mistake. And I know at first you're thinking, $1.2 million, that's a lot of money, Tony. How can I make a $1.2 million mistake? Well, what that's referring to is back when President Reagan was in office, I believe it was 1986, they started this Silver Eagle program. And so with the very first month they offered a Silver Eagle from the U.S. Mint, if you had added one every month to your safe or your portfolio, every month, I mean, through January 1st, 2021, right now you'd probably have about 420 of them. Give or take. I might be off like one or two, but about 420 of them. And all in, your cost would be about $43,500, give or take. Just a little bit off, maybe. I kind of do the math, about once a quarter, and then, of course, it adds each month and stuff. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point is, you'd be in about $43,500. And if you looked at the value of these coins, all 420 of them, in today's market, they would be worth over $1.2 million. And that's amazing, I think. And part of it is I don't know why. I mean, it's bizarre. Some years have done incredibly well, and some years have been so-so. I mean, if you look at the 1996 ones that came out and looked in the different publications that chart this stuff, those are going for over $6,000 a piece. So if you'd gotten 12 of those in that year, 6 times 12 is 72. There's 72,000 right there. The 1999 ones are going for over $19,000 a piece. And, no one can figure, I mean, was it Y2K? Why was it? That those for some reason have gone up. I mean, I heard a new theory last week. Someone was telling me it's because somebody had gone in and bought out, all that were left. So because there's a very small supply, if any, that's what's driven the price up. But anyway, they're over $19,000 a piece. And, if you had 12 of those, that'd be what, $228,000 just in 12 coins? So you never know which year is really going to be the year that, is another 1999 or another 1996. So that's why I kind of preach this, one a month. I mean, if you can afford it, you can get 2 or 3 or 4 a month, however many your budget can afford and so forth. I mean, if you're really out there, you can get one a day. Like the old vitamin thing, one a day. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. But for most people like myself, one a month is, I think, kind of exciting and stuff. And that way, down the road, if, like, for example, the 2020s take off because of that being such a incredible year, then, I know I've got a few. This one, as I said, is a 2021. And the key thing I want to stress, because I know some of you are the type that you're going to already be on the internet looking to see if I'm telling the truth and all this kind of stuff. When you're looking for this, make sure you're looking at the MS70 prices. Because usually most of these publications that print this kind of stuff, they'll have MS70 over on the far right of the page, but then they'll have the other MSs along. So, I mean, it's real easy to go to, $19.99 and you see that, they're going for like $69 a piece. Well, why is that? Well, look up at the top of the column and you'll see that's probably like MS50 or something. I mean, it's not the MS. You go all the way to the right and you'll see the very last column, and the MS70s are the ones that are over $19,000 a piece. I had that happen at a coin conference here in Springfield last fall, where one of the gentlemen I was talking to, he was like, it's not 1.2 million, and he got his little directory out and was trying to, show me I was wrong, and he's pointing to the MS50 price, and I could see all the way over on the right, the 19,000, and I said, well, I'm talking about this column. He goes, oh, MS-70s. I said, yes, sir, that's what we work with, is MS-70s. Oh, well, that's a whole different story. So keep that in mind as you add to your collection or start your collection. And I think if you stay with quality, you'll be somewhat pleased at some point in the future when you can pull out, a dozen or 2 dozen or 100 or something like that, and then start kind of looking at, how much you've accumulated and what they're worth and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so that's kind of a quick run through of prices and silver. Let's see here what we have going in the other area. We've got some good articles out from some of my favorites. We've got one article that I got an interesting read on by Matthew Piepenburg back on the 18th. It's called History Repeating Itself. I'm not going to read it to you, but I'll post it to my Facebook page for the gold and silver, and that's the Gold Affiliate on Facebook. But very interesting article as far as literally history repeating itself. And then and one before that was Why Comparisons Between Bitcoin and Gold Are Absurd by David Rosenberg and Ellen Cooper. And I'll make sure I post that one also. And then here's one, The End of the U.S. Dollar by Mark Friedrich. And that was January 17th. And then last but not least, my favorite, this guy, I don't know why I enjoy his weekly articles so much, but Egon von Greyer's. And Egon manages money over there in Switzerland. In fact, I think the name of his company is Matterhorn Investment Council or something like that. Anyway, his most recent article was Joe Biden's Banana Republic. And it is a very, very, very interesting article as far as, what's going on and stuff. In fact, I will read just the first 2 paragraphs just because I found this what kind of drew me in, and I ended up reading the whole thing. It says, Donald Trump is probably the luckiest presidential candidate in history to have lost an election. He doesn't realize it yet as he suffers from self-inflicted wound in the final moments of his presidency, nor does Biden yet realize how unlucky he is to have won. But that will soon change as his presidency goes from crisis to crisis in all areas, from monetary to fiscal to social and political. Very little will go right during his presidency. The next 4 years could easily be 4 years of hell for Biden. And then in parentheses it says, if he stays the course for the whole 4 years, for the U.S. and thus for the world. And I'll just kind of leave it at that as far as an intro and stuff. And I mean, we all hope, I do, that President Biden will have the wherewithal and everything that's required to navigate the country through everything we have to get through. To get on a better course and stuff. I'm one of those weird folks. I was a Navy brat. Dad was stationed all over the world, and the neat thing was we got to go with him in most cases. And I can tell you about living in France when I was in first grade and second grade, and I can tell you about living in some other countries and different parts of our country, and just all those things that happen when you're a child, and you pick up and move every year and a half, 2 years. And I can tell you, I was always glad to get back on U.S. soil. Even as a kid, you don't even know, it's just like, oh, hey, we're back in the States. It feels like home. And with that said, where I'm going with that is that, it's one thing to be competitive and want one party to, beat the other party, and all these different things that come up in politics and stuff. But I'm also one of those ones that once somebody is elected, I like to give them the respect that is deserving of that office. And I kind of wish more folks would do that because, I mean, let's face it, this is the United States of America. It is the best country in the world, in my opinion, and I mean, there's just a lot of neat things about being in America. And we don't necessarily need to get into, a political dissertation as far as that goes and stuff. But I did want to segue real quick into a topic I started a couple weeks ago, and that is going from alternative investments and so forth to a new insurance company that I've added to my agency. And it is a final expense company. They specialize in these small whole life policies that are there for you when you pass away, or I should say there for your family so they can take care of your final expenses. And it's just a combination of things really over this last 18 months. My own dad passed away November 6th of 2020. We've just had a number of friends that have passed away, and in some cases, unfortunately, when they passed, they didn't have anything like this, and the family, was just in dire straits. How do you take care of the final details? How do you pay for the final details? Those kinds of things and stuff. So, excuse me, I brought this on board a couple months ago and have been thrilled to help several people already with it and stuff. But let me just give you kind of a reason why I like this. I mean, first off, I think I did this before, the conditions chart. I mean, this company will provide coverage for just about anybody. I mean, you could be, suffering from Alzheimer's. You could be bedridden currently. You could be blind legally. You could have a blood disease disorder, a brain disorder, a nervous disorder, cancer that's been treated, cancer not treated in the last 2 years, cerebral palsy, chronic illness, circulation, cystic fibrosis, dementia, diabetes, uncontrolled or complications, heart condition treated, heart and lung disease, heart condition not treated in the last 2 years, high blood pressure, home health care, Huntington's disease, kidney disease, liver disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, lung disease, including COPD, emphysema, mental disorder, multiple sclerosis, and that was just the front side. I'm not even going to go through this back side here. It's got just as many and stuff. But my point is that, oftentimes I think we do this as humans. We think, oh my gosh, I've got a disorder of some kind. I'm pre-diabetic, or I'm, my blood pressure is high because I take blood pressure medicine, or, whatever it is. And, no one's going to insure me, so I'm not going to try. And my point is that this company has taken it upon themselves to, specialize in this final expense area. So if you or someone does not have the plans in place, should something happen to them for their, their loved ones and stuff, have them holler at me. Like I said, I'm 417-755-0700. The process is pretty simple. I have yet to have anybody be, turned away. Got to find wood here. Oh, that looks like wood. Okay, had to knock on that real quick. But I'm just really pleased with this relationship with this company so far. And the neat thing is they have one feature that is like a little add-on for $4 a month. And it's called Legacy Assurance, and what it does is it provides a team that's literally called the Wish Team, that if you want, they will negotiate with a funeral home to get you the best price on whatever direction you're going, whether it's going to be an urn or a casket or flowers or a ceremony, just all those things that go into the funeral and everything. And in some cases their savings they can provide are tremendous. I mean, I had one person that I knew that had his mother-in-law passed away. This is just a couple months back, and they were up in Hannibal, Missouri, and the funeral home they were going to, I don't know which one, but apparently they were wanting to charge something like $6,000 for the casket. And fortunately, this friend of mine had legacy assurance. He'd kind of forgot about it. It was one of those things where, it was really in the mom's paperwork and stuff, and so he thought he'd seen something, went back, found it, called them, asked them if they'd work with the funeral home, and sure enough, the funeral home, called back the next day and said, well, we've heard from your advocate. They've come up with a better price. It's going to be, like $1,500, I think it was. It was a savings of like $4,500, which is amazing. And, and it's right when you need it too, because I know from my own experience here back in November with my dad, the last thing you want to do when you've just lost somebody like that is to, be sitting there under emotional duress trying to make decisions, especially when they involve large sums of money, on what's best and all this kind of stuff. And so this is a neat feature that they literally bring to the table and stuff. So if you know of someone who doesn't have that, have them give me a shout. Be happy to visit with them and everything. And I cover a variety of insurance products. I was hoping to have Miss Lorna with us today. She covers auto and home insurance, but that market, the home insurance, is so crazy right now. There's just I guess it's a seller's market, especially here in Springfield. There's just all kinds of folks moving in from all over the country. In fact, I saw a statistic yesterday. It was from U-Haul, and U-Haul had released their numbers from 2020 of, I guess they track it by the destination of their different items of equipment. And they listed the top 10 states of destinations, and Missouri was number 7 out of 50 as far as people moving from California and New York and these other parts of the country. And I think part of that is the COVID situation. People realize they no longer have to be in a high-rise office someplace in a inner city. They can work remote by using Zoom and their laptop and their telephone and get probably just as much, if not more, done without the daily commute and stuff. So anyway, Missouri was like number 7, which it doesn't surprise me because, just driving around town here in Springfield, I can see plates from, it's not uncommon to see plates from, 10, 12 different states in any one trip. And so that's just one of those things that, that we're dealing with and everything. But other than that, I know Matt's kind of given me the eye that we've only got a minute or two left. Here we are, Inauguration Day. I've been praying for a peaceful transition. Hopefully you have too, and those prayers will be answered. And then we can move on. And as far as getting around town, wear your masks and be courteous and all this kind of stuff. Right now you got to figure we've been under some of these conditions now for almost a year. And it's cold, and we're all bundled up, and in some type cases, stuck inside and stuff. So, kind of factor that in. And other than that, thanks for tuning in. I always like to thank Jim and Pam Whining for making the show possible, and Dr. Paul Collins and his help and everything, and of course Matt Pearson. We would be lost without Matt Pearson.
I'd like to think that it's where God's going to have it be, regardless. But
Matt,
thank you.
Yeah. Matt is the one that really makes this all happen with all the technology and the planning and the equipment and the knowing how to work it all and stuff. So
I'm just stumbling in the dark until I find my footing.
Well, you should be a little bit more awake with that coffee you got today.
Yeah, I have not tried it yet. I got to get a grinder.
Oh, was it beans?
Yes, it's beans.
Oh, okay.
It smells great. I have a grinder at the house.
There you go. So anyway, be safe, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for viewing. Talk to you later.